Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today I'm going to be doing part 2 of my answers to your questions that you asked me a while back. I'll leave part 1 linked up in the card symbol as well as down in the description if you want to check out my answers to the first set of questions. But today I'm going to be answering the rest of the bookish questions that you guys have asked me. Reed's Reader asked me favorite book of all time and favorite author of all time. I've answered this in part 1, but I love Frederick Bachman. My favorite book by him is Beartown. I own 4 copies of this book and they all have the same cover, so there's not really a reason for me to have 4 different copies, but I do. Drowning Arrows asked me my opinion on ghostwriters. I don't really like ghostwriters. I don't think that they should be ghost writers. Like, I don't think they should be a thing. It should just be like co-authored or with whatever. You know how celebrities, when they don't actually end up writing their own memoirs, it'll say the celebrity's name and then it'll say the person who actually wrote the novel or helped write the novel, whatever. You can still pull that craziness like James Patterson does, where he puts his name humongous and the other person's name is really tiny. As long as the name is on the cover and I can see it and I know that this book is actually written by this person, fine. But I don't like the whole sketchy not saying it up front that it's not written by this person, or just saying that the idea is by this person, written by this person. I actually have a book that is by Neil Gaiman, or the idea was by Neil Gaiman and then other people wrote it and illustrated the graphic novel. Didn't love it, but it does say on the cover that the idea is by Neil Gaiman, and these other people took over it. Shelby from Read and Find Out, which love her channel, she asked me what book would represent me as a person, and for this one, it's not really like how I am as a person, but it's one of those books that encourages you to be a better person, and it's one of those books that every once in a while I'll pick it up and read it, and it resets me, and it helps me get back on focus and everything like that. That's The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. It's heartbreaking, like I cry every time I read it, but it's just one of those things that really makes you value what you have, value your life, and want to get the most out of your life. That's not always how I act, but it's how I want to act, if that makes sense. I also recommend this book to people all the time. It's one of my go-to recommendations, so that one. She also asked me my 5 favorite books or series, which is crazy. That's a very limited number. I really love Beartown. It's my new favorite, still current favorite from last year book that I've ever read. The Last Lecture would definitely be one of those. I mean, the Harry Potter series, it was such an integral part of my childhood and becoming a reader and everything like that. The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, because it really concreted my love for adult fantasy, and it was a really easy gateway into reading more intense fantasy, more dense fantasy. I could get through this book really easily, and I like the concepts, and I found that I liked the lack of romance going on, so it helped me transition from YA to fantasy. The Seven Realms series, because it concreted my love for YA. I love this series, and it continues with the Shattered Realms series. I still need to read the 3rd book in that one, but yeah, love that series as well. That one does have romance in it though, so be warned. Avakeda? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your username / name. They asked me the book that got me into reading. I would go to say Harry Potter, because that's the first meaty book that I remember reading as a child. I started the series when I was in 2nd grade, and I remember all the kids were reading it at the same time, and everyone was trying to beat each other, because I think only the first 3 or 4 were out at the time, and so everyone wanted to finish it. But the first time I remember being like labeled as a reader was when I was reading A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. I remember distinctly reading the 4th book while my parents were having a parent-teacher conference before school started, just so that the teachers could let them know what the plan was and everything like that. I was also a bit of a troublemaker when I was in elementary school, so I think they were probably preparing my parents for what kind of punishments that they were gonna give me. I'll go over that whole story when I do my reading journey video that I'm gonna do separately, but yeah, this is the first time that I remember someone being like, wow, you read a lot, and they started labeling me as a nerd, which I didn't like it at the time, but now I'm loving it. I love being labeled a nerd. They also asked me my favorite author and favorite genre: Frederick Bachman, Brandon Sanderson, Brandon Mull, Cinda Williams-Chima. Those are all some favorites of mine. Neil Shusterman, that's another one that I haven't mentioned in these Q&As yet. Favorite genre: fantasy. Middle grade, that made me want to read more middle grade. I have to go get it. For me, that would probably be the Beyonders trilogy by Brandon Mull. This first book is called A World Without Heroes. This is the middle grade series that made me realize that middle grade can be just as complicated and fantastical and adventurous as epic fantasy, well, as high fantasy can. This series has so many cool elements going on. I love the different races of beings in this world. I haven't read it in a really long time. I really want to reread it so that I can do a review on it properly. It follows these two children that go through different portals. The main character, he falls through the mouth of a hippopotamus, so it's silly, but it's still amazing because they show up in this world called Lyrian, and Lyrian has all of these different types of people. They have wizards and just regular humans. They have these displacers who can remove certain body parts without them dying, so he can just take off his hand and his hand can run around like the hand from the Addams Family, and then he can just put it back on. He can take off his head. There's other people. There are this group of people that are very short-lived. They only live a few years, and because of that they age very quickly and they mature very quickly and their whole metabolism is sped up. There is a group of people that are very nature-like. They can be reborn over and over and over again as long as this acorn in their head is intact, but over time they haven't been reproducing as quickly, and that causes problems in their society. And if someone steals your, I don't think it's actually called an acorn, but it's some type of seed or whatever, someone steals it, then you won't be reborn until it falls into the earth. So there's just so many cool things about this book that it made me realize that middle grade can be just as amazing as high fantasy, just as entertaining, with just as many cool messages, and it just really concreted my love for middle grade, and that's why I read so much middle grade today. What got me into reading? I honestly don't know. There's been a few different periods of my life that I've read, then not read, and then read again, and then not read. I will go over it in my reading journey, but I remember my dad reading to me when I would take baths when I was like a really young kid, when I was like 3 or something like that, and he would read me my bedtime stories while I was in the bath. I'm not sure other than that because no one in my family is much of a reader. My dad probably reads the second most, or Torin, my brother. I'm basically the only big reader in my family. Gaia asked me what kind of author interactions I've had online, positive or negative. I've had some really positive interactions with Taran Matharu. I got sent the second book to review of his Summoner series at some point, and after that review and after reading the first book, he contacted me and we just talked about his series, and he was asking me about my writing, and he's just a really nice, approachable author. As I said in my first video, we were supposed to meet up when I was in London, but then he was out of the country. I had some awkward interactions with a couple of authors. Scott Westerfeld was very not into me being in his line at YALLFest one year. He didn't say one word to me, and I was like, hi, love your books, blah, blah, blah. And then it was just like silence, and he just signed my books and shoved them back at me. But at the time I felt so awkward and I was like sweating. Brandon Sanderson, I've stood in his line a while back, and I got up there and he asked me if I had any questions, and I was so just like, that I didn't have any questions. It was terrible, and now I'm like, dang it, I should have prepared and should have had a question. I'm trying to think if I had any other good interactions. Brandon Mull, he is super awesome. He's super nice. I met him at a couple of different events. He doesn't remember who I am, but he did put my review of the continuation of the Fablehaven series on his website. That's why it's one of my most viewed reviews that I've done, so it's on the Brandon Mull website. But when I saw him at BEA, I had him say hello to my brother because he really loves Brandon Mull's books as well, and I had him say, hi Torin, wish you were here. So he was awesome, he's great. David D. Levine at BEA was super nice. He was so excited that I think it was Sana, me, and Victoria, we were all in line to get his book or whatever, and he came out and he was all excited that he had a line, and he signed all the books, and that was great. He was so nice. Cinda Williams Chima, she was fantastic. I brought all of these books except for these two. So I brought 9 books to have her sign, even though I was only supposed to bring 3. She was great. When I went up to her, she's like, it looks like we've been together for a long time. And I was like, yep, I love your books. And so she was really nice about it, and she signed them all. I haven't had too many bad experiences besides just awkward, like not saying anything encounters where they sign the book and then that's it. I really had a good interaction with Michael Livingston, which I haven't read his book, but he described it to me, and he found out that I was a classical studies major because I told him, and we just started chatting about really geeky ancient history stuff, and it was awesome. He wrote The Shards of Heaven, which is the first book in a series, and he signed it to me, and I still have been wanting to read this one. I'm gonna do my Newts in July. This video will probably go up in July, and in my TBR video I said that I was gonna read Legacy of Kings, but this one is about the same time period, so I might end up reading this one now that I'm talking about it. Michael J. Sullivan has always had a really sweet disposition online whenever I've interacted with him through Goodreads or through Twitter. He's always been really nice, and he has this like secret Goodreads group, and I'm a part of that, and it's fantastic. I love getting all of the information a little bit early. It's not super exclusive or anything. You can be a part of it, but you have to ask to be a part of it. Alex London, he was great. I met him at YALLFest a couple of times. I was talking about how much I enjoyed this article that he'd written. If I can find it, I'll leave it linked down below. But when I saw him, I told him how much I really enjoyed that article that he wrote. And I said that I'd read a few books by him. I read the Proxy Duology, which I enjoyed, which follows a main gay character in this dystopian sci-fi world. And then I also read a middle grade series by him called Wild Ones. It follows anthropomorphic raccoons. But he was like, I don't usually do drawings for older people, because obviously I'm not 13, but he did the drawing for me anyway, so he was super nice. I still have my little Connor sticker on there. I'm sure there are more stories about me meeting authors, but if you're an author and you're not nice, it's not gonna make me want to read your books. Like, I haven't read a Scott Westerfeld book since I met him at YALLFest that one time, and I know it's draining. It's super draining because you go to these events and all these people are talking to you and expect your time, and you're not really, like, I'm not entitled to your time. But if you offer it to me and are super nice about it, then I'm more inclined to like your books and pick your books up. So it's one of those things that after having interactions with authors, it a little bit changes how you interact with their books, which is kind of weird. So that's a whole different topic that, that I could talk about, but let's move on. I forgot, Drowning Arrows also asked me if they could draw me on their channel where they, I guess, draw YouTubers. So go for it. You can draw me if you want. Bookish Linguist asked me what draws me to BookTube, why I started BookTube in the first place. I started back in 2013, so it was a very small community back then. I think I started about a year or so after the bigger booktubers, like the biggest ones that we've got in our community. So that'll be a part of my reading journey, because that's a huge section where my reading went from a more than the normal amount to a crazy amount of reading. Bookish Linguist also asked me how many unread books I own. Too many. Too many to count right now. Like, it's gotta be at least 250 or 300. I'm not exaggerating. Isaac, the bookkeeper, Isaac, asked me my favorite middle grade series. I did a video where I recommend middle grade to boys, but it's not just for boys, it's for everyone. But I targeted it towards boys because boys tend to stop reading around the middle grade age group, and I was hoping to keep them engaged for at least a little bit longer so that they can enjoy reading and maybe it'll keep going for longer. In there I recommended 5 different series that I still love. All those series, definitely recommend those to everyone and the boys. On there it was like the Beyonders, the Wings of Fire series. I think I brushed over Harry Potter and Percy Jackson because most people have read those. The Alcatraz series, the Artemis Fowl series. I just recently got a comment on that video that was like cursing at me and being like, WTF, but like the actual words, and being like, I'm a girl and I like these books. And I was like, in my video I said, these books are for everyone. I think everyone would enjoy them, but I'm hoping that middle school guys will gravitate towards these because I think that they would like them. And that video gets a lot of people being upset because I geared it towards boys instead of girls too. So sorry about that, but that's not the purpose of the video. You can read those if you want, and I think that you would still enjoy them. Don't go looking for that comment either. I responded to them and asked them to remove the curse words just because it's a middle grade level video, and I know that teachers show that video in their classrooms because people have told me, and I deleted the comment because she didn't want to take out the curse words, so it's not there anymore, so you can't find it. Sulky, I'm not sure. Sulcy is what I'm gonna go with. Asked me if I've read any Spanish to English translated books, which I didn't realize I haven't read very many. The one that I have read and that I own still, I read Grim Pow. The first book is called The Invisible Road by Rafael. Read this one a really long time ago when I was a teenager. I should go back and reread it, but the problem is I know that there's a second book, and the second book was never translated into English, and I don't know enough Spanish anymore to be able to read it. Like, I took 4 years of Spanish, but didn't really do anything. I also lived in Argentina for a summer because she's from Argentina, so I wanted to say that I have been to Argentina and I played for Los Estudiantes and I lived in La Plata over a summer, and that was a great experience. I ended up getting sick though at some point, so that was not fun. But this is the only one that I own, so if you have any Spanish to English recommended books to read, let me know that. I know that Carlos Ruiz Zafón, is that his name? I know that his books are much loved on BookTube, but I haven't read them yet. Kisses back. Whew. And the last questioner in this video is gonna be Rafael, which is funny, Rafael. He asked me a series of questions. So some of them I could have put on my personal channel response video, but I'm just gonna throw them all here because they're all kind of geeky and books. He asked me if I'm a gamer. Not really. I do love video games. I have an obsessive personality, so I go through phases of being obsessed with things. My bookish obsession is like the only one that is all the time. But then I will go through periods where I play video games non-stop all the time, especially if I get really invested in a video game. Like I just got Skyrim for PS4. I played Skyrim on my PS3 way back when it came out, but then I got it on PS4, the expansion stuff, and I've just been playing all the expansion stuff, and I'm really into that right now. I also was playing Shadow of War, which is a Lord of the Rings video game. I was really enjoying that one, but then I started playing Skyrim, so that one fell off, but I'll go back to that eventually. I've considered doing videos where I play video games, but I don't think that people would be interested in that because I'm not a very enthralling video game player. I play very safe. I play as like an assassin character or an archer almost in every video game that I play. I don't play first-person shooters because I don't enjoy them. I like Skyrim. I just sneak around and I have such a high level of sneak that no one can see me ever, not even until they like get up to me. They have to actually touch me accidentally to see me, and I'll shoot them with arrows and then run away and then come back and shoot them with another arrow, run away, come back. It's not a very exciting time to watch me play video games, but I enjoy it. He asked me if I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I do. I don't really have a favorite movie in it though. I really liked Ant-Man, which I think is an unpopular opinion, but I thought that that one was really funny. Kind of the first ones I really enjoyed, Iron Man, and I really liked Spider-Man when that one came out as well. I like the funniness of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He asked me if I like Star Wars. Yes, I do. I liked it as a kid a lot more than I do now. I haven't kept up. I haven't watched either of the two most recent Star Wars movies to come out, so I don't have any opinions on those. My favorite music genre, I'm not a huge music person, which is interesting. I wish that I was, but I've never gotten really into it. I do like folk alternative stuff. One of my favorite bands is the Staves, which is a UK, I guess, are they a band? I don't know. It's a UK group of 3 sisters, and they're like incredible at harmonizing. I really like their music. It's a little slower. I like depressing music. I also like music that I can like belt out in the car so that I can just sing my soul out and no one has to actually hear me sing. I also like AJR, which is more of the alternative stuff. They've actually started getting a lot more popular than they used to, which is great to see. And I've actually met them. They're really nice guys. Jack, which is the main singer slash the youngest brother, he did this thing which I know he does with tons of people, is like, oh, I feel like I've met you before. Like, have I met you before? And then I'm like, no. But then I feel flattered, and I know that mind game, but it still worked. And I was like, oh, they're great. Do I like Buffy? No, not really. I've never really got into it. I started watching the first season because Maddie and Lainey and my friends love it, but I have not really gotten into it. Favorite TV show, I love Parks and Rec. I love Sense8, as I said in the first part. There's a couple of others, but I'm not a huge TV watcher either. I always watch the first season of a TV show and then I never continue because I forget about it. He asked me if I watch Game of Thrones. No, I don't. I have only watched the first 5-ish episodes, and then I decided I wanted to read the books, and then I DNF'd the third one for now. Maybe I'll go back, but I never continued with the TV show. He asked me if I have any other geeky hobbies. I don't know what counts as geeky. I collect Harry Potter merchandise, and I used to do Lord of the Rings as well, but then I just focused in on Harry Potter. So like, that's Harry Potter. This is the Ravenclaw diadem. This is a statue of a hippogriff. So I have a lot of Harry Potter merchandise floating around my room. Like, I have a ton of wands. I think I have like 40 something. It's just an easy gift that my family members will give me for Christmas and my birthday. I've accumulated a lot of Harry Potter geeky stuff. Other things that I collect coins, or at least I used to with my grandfather before he got too bad of dementia that he doesn't really understand what's going on anymore. I used to go to coin shows with him and bid on different coins and everything. It was very exciting for me as a kid. And I have my small collection, and then my grandfather has, I guess he doesn't really have his collection anymore. My Nana has it, but he's He's the one that collected it. He asked me if I have any board game favorites. I'm not a huge board game person, but is Yahtzee a board game? I play Yahtzee like all the time. I love Yahtzee, but I don't really play any other board games. I would play Monopoly if it didn't take 1,000 years to play. And my throat hurts, so that's all the geeky stuff that I'm gonna talk about. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below anything you wanna know. If you wanna ask me any more questions to do another part, leave those questions down below, or if you have any reactions to my answers or anything like that, down in the comments, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.